Welcome to the 69th episode of the Golf Podcast. Mike, I'm particularly excited about this one. We've got a very special guest. We've got David Leadbetter on the show today.
Very excited, Frank. You know, as we all know, he's one of the greats out there when it comes to teachers and coaches. And I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. I got a really big outing tomorrow, one of those teams scramble, and I want to bring my best game, or I should say A game or A swing, and you guys will hear about that soon. But I'm looking forward to this interview, Frank.
Yeah, David's got a brand new book out. That's why we're going to be talking to him, or that's at least part of the reason. And David was nice enough to leave a bunch of copies with us. So stick around for after the interview. We're going to talk about how you can win one of those. Like I said, this is his brand new book. Just came out on May 12th. It's called The A Swing, and we'll let David describe it a little bit more in a second. Before we jump into that, I want to thank Kicker Golf again. Mike, all through the month of May, they're running a special 15% off just for listeners of the Golf Podcast. I'll link in the show notes to the details for that. We've got an exclusive coupon code that you can use, and you can redeem that. And if you haven't heard of Kicker before, they're just a really awesome new apparel company. Mike and I love them. We've done a review or two on the site for them before on Golficity. So you'll see all that. I'll link to everything. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 69. In the show notes as well, I'll have all the information for David, his new book, how you can get a hold of that, and more about the contest that we're going to be running. But Mike, what's really exciting about this is David. He's a household name. He's one of, if not the most recognizable name in the world of teaching golf. I mean, this is the guy who taught Nick Faldo how to win a major,
Right.
So very exciting. And when he talks, everyone listens. And what I find very interesting here is, and what David talked about in our interview, which we're going to jump to in a minute. I had a chance to speak with him on the phone yesterday. David talks about it's possibly being a little bit controversial, because what they call the A swing actually means the alternative swing. Now, reality, what you'll kind of hear David describing, and what I've seen a little bit about it, and you can kind of watch David demonstrate it on YouTube. There's a bunch of videos that he's done. I think Golf Digest is going to be doing a huge spread on just this method coming up very shortly in the next month or so. They're doing a 10-page spread about it. So there's a lot of information that's going to be out. And what's the reality is it actually works out to be a very natural swing. And on top of that, he worked with a biomechanics specialist who went through it just to make sure it was biometrically sound. And there's a lot of great both feel but also technical aspects that went into it. So very exciting development. And it's nice to see something new and shaking it up a little bit. But what I like the most about this, Mike, is we always talk about Golficity, golf made simple. What David really worked to do with this particular swing, and this is why when it first came out, we jumped at the opportunity to talk to him because it's so fitting with what we talk about here every week. It's very much a simplification of the swing. What he's working on is expending about 35% less energy, being able to have that consistency. We talk about consistency being one of the most important things that everyone is looking for, and a large part of that comes from simplifying the swing, not having too many things in motion, so to speak. So what he did with the A swing is he did a lot of simplification. There's a lot that goes into the setup. There's still a lot of very sound fundamentals in there. So it makes a lot of intuitive sense. The people who are using it so far are reporting that the feel is very also intuitive, very natural. So there's a lot of great things about this. So Mike, let's go ahead and bring David right in on the show now. Okay, so we have David Leadbetter on the phone. David, welcome.
Thank you very much, Frank. A pleasure to be with you.
It's an honor to have you on the show. Okay, so David, what I want to talk about, what I really want to jump in today is your new book, The A Swing. And over the past 30 years or so, your career has included everything from training some of the world's most famous golfers to authoring quite a few books, DVDs, that type of thing. And what I found interesting about the A Swing is this is your first time back to book publishing in over a decade. So that said, what I was wondering there is what was the catalyst to get back into publishing?
Well, that's a very good question. As you said, I've been fortunate enough to write a number of books, and I really, Frank, wanted to bring, if I was going to write a new book, I wanted to bring out something which was different. Certainly, I think this A swing, which we'll discuss in a few minutes, is certainly an evolution and an extension of what I've always believed in. But I really wanted to bring something out that in this technologically advanced world we live in, where things can be, I think, get very confused these days with the amount of information that's out there. And in the end, I mean, the simpler you can keep things, the better. And so this really, I felt, was a way for me to get the message across. I mean, you know, I suppose in reality, Frank, there hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff written for, I don't know, I was speaking to a friend of mine today his name is Joe Tenessa, from the Tenessa family, a very famous family in the world of golf. And he said, you know, his father was a teaching professional, his uncle played on the Ryder Cup team, and he said, you know, I wish my pop was alive, because he said, this is something which is different, which is simple, and we really, not a whole lot being stated in a new fashion, really for many, many years. I mean, we analyze swings differently, certainly. I mean, with all the mod cods, with TrackMan and high-speed video cameras and force plates and you name it. But the fact that trying to get the message across, I mean, you have to look at great teachers of the past like Harvey Penick, and who was very simple in his approach and was tremendously successful. And so I think it's sort of to me, this approach, and I call it an approach rather than a method. I wanted to do something which allowed the amateur golfer to maybe to play this game in a fashion where they can understand the leader, play better golf. And the motto actually is minimal practice, maximum benefit, because my feeling is that in golf, that the A swing actually stands for alternative, and really relates to the backswing, because to me, the backswing is a very, very difficult area of the golf swing, very troublesome for most golfers. So we've tried to simplify it. We've reduced the amount of motion in the backswing. It doesn't look funky. But my first book, which I wrote in 1989, was called The Golf Swing. We had all these 11 links. So we've cut out a bunch of links, essentially. So it's a much more efficient way of swinging the club, much simpler. And the thing we found in all our testing, because we tested it for a couple of years, is that the two words that come out primarily are natural. It feels natural, and it feels easy. So those when you get those two words coming out of golfers' mouths, regardless of what level of player they are, we tested everybody from literally beginner to tour player, and we've seen some tremendous results. So I'm really excited about it, and to say it was just really something I wanted to do, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm putting my head on the block a little bit, because we know that golf is so traditional. But so it may be a little bit controversial, but you know what? I think that teaching industry, if you want to term it that, needs a little bit of a shake-up. It's a bit of same old. So this is going to be, it's quite different. There's been a huge article in Golf Digest 6 months. The editor, Jerry Todd, he's very excited about it, because he said, hey, this is going to help the average golfer. And so I'm really excited about it.
And what I really like with what you said about where you're able to do this with limited amount of practice time having to be spent with it, because we all talk now about revitalizing golf and growing the game, but what's not becoming simple on the whole are people's lives in general. And what we find is a lot of our listeners, a lot of people who come to the site, they seem to express the same type of sentiment, that there's a discouragement that gets involved when you don't feel like you're improving because you just can't put the time into the game that you'd like to. We'd all love to be getting paid to play and be able to do that as our day job. But the reality is a lot of guys will sneak around in on the weekend, or maybe play 9 holes after work, or maybe hit the range once a week. So something like this, where you're simplifying it and you're able to do much more concentrated, effective practice, I got to think that there's a lot of people who are going to kind of really attach to that.
Well, we hope so, Frank. I mean, we've had some great reports from the people that we've tested. We've had some high-profile teaching pros say, hey, this is really rather unique. This is something, I mean, I've had this one well-known teaching professional in Los Angeles he's a golf machine instructor, a certified instructor, which is a fairly complex approach to teaching the game. He said, since I've read your book, and he's read the early release book, I gave it to him, and he said, I just found it's helped so many of my students very, very quickly. And so along with the book, what we've done is included a 7-minute practice plan. And that sounds crazy, but literally what we've done, we've designed 6 little swing exercises, which you can do indoors without hitting a golf ball, just to create the feel for what you're trying to do. So these 6 little exercises that cover the whole swing. And if you did these exercises literally 2 or 3 times a week, I know people can find 7 minutes out of their day, especially if rewards the greater golfer at the end. We feel that, and say this is once again, we've done all this testing, we've found that people have really, really improved. And we've even got a short training club that we offer in order for people to practice this. So when they're traveling, they go away on business, for instance, they stick it in their suitcase and just do their little 7-minute plan. And the whole idea really is when you go out and play, you're not really having to think about it. You have the feeling. You create maybe the muscle memory, if you want to term it that, in order to get the right sensations. And so it's mechanically very sound. We've had it tested by one of the world's renowned biomechanists, and he said, I mean, I don't want to get too complex with it, but there's a thing called a kinetic chain where energy flows from one part of the body to the next. In other words, from the lower body to the upper body, the arms, the hands, the club. It's sort of a little bit of physics involved here, but he said it's one of the most efficient ways he's seen to get this kinetic chain working. And so the average player is able to create more speed with less effort. So I'm really excited about it because, to me, listen, it's been my passion in life to help golfers of every level. And I think if we can help the masters to play better, where they enjoy the game more without necessarily spending hours and hours practicing it, well, we're going to keep people in the game. I don't know anybody, Frank, that's actually playing good golf that's actually given up the game. It's only when their game starts to deteriorate and get frustrated, they say, well, let's go do something else. In England, for instance, they're finding thousands of golfers have quit the game and are taking up cycling. That's the thing they found with all their research. And people say, hey, listen, we can go out with the family, we can enjoy ourselves, and we don't get frustrated playing golf. And so it's really one of obviously my goals is to sort of help grow the game and to keep people in the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're checking off a lot of boxes there with this swing, it sounds like, and a lot of reasons why they would come back. And I think as you said, where the biometrics are worked in, it seems like you're getting a nice meld of not only that highly technical, but also the less technical portion, in that the results are there and that you're saying people are reporting that it's feeling more natural. And I guess that's backed up by what the biomechanics are showing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a little bit of a baseball connotation in this. I'm starting to actually help Derek Jeter out. And since he's retired from baseball, he's now starting to get into golf. He's never played golf before, amazingly. He didn't want to get distracted during his playing days, so he's now taking up golf, and obviously it suits him down to the ground because there is a little baseball component, and that's why it feels natural to a lot of people. If you get a lot of people can relate to, certainly in this country, hitting a baseball, and when you think in terms of where the bat is, if you're playing softball or baseball, the bat really is sort of pretty much up in the air. And then as you move your body, the bat actually flattens onto the plane that the ball is coming on, the pitch is coming on. And that's essentially what we're suggesting in this approach. And there's players throughout history who have done this. I mean, you can see an extreme version in maybe Jim Furyk, maybe Ryan Moore on the tour. But even the great Jack Nicklaus, if you look at his swing through the years, we talk about an on-plane swing. I think plane is probably the most misunderstood part of the golf swing. Ben Hogan had a sheet of glass through his neck to the ground, and people really don't quite picture a plane. And I think the reason being is because we're neither horizontal like baseball or tennis, or sort of vertical like croquet. We're somewhere in between those two angles, if you will, and it's not an easy picture to connotate in your mind. So essentially, what this A swing does, it helps you to get onto the right plane coming down. Because if you can get onto the right plane coming down, I can promise you. I mean, we've cured people's slices within an hour just through the fact that they've got the club on the right angle coming down, where they can get the face square on the ball. And that, I mean, if you can do that, my goodness me, it's the way to go. There's no question about it.
And ultimately, it sounds like it's going to lead to one thing that we hear people all the time, when they go to lessons or whatever it may be. it keeps coming up. People want to be more consistent because, like you said, speaking about the frustration going back, a little bit earlier, a large part of that frustration is you may play this game fantastically one day, and the next it's a different story. So I would imagine that's another thing that comes into simplifying those mechanics is we're going to be able to experience a higher level of consistency, right?
Absolutely, dead on. And the thing is, look, when you look at a swing, a golf swing, if you think of the two main components, which are your arms, hands, and clubs, and then your torso. So the whole key, really, for players of every level, is to learn to synchronize those two components together, and that's where it's difficult from day to day to actually do that. Sometimes, your body gets a little quicker, your arms get a little quicker, or the club's a little late or a little early. So trying to time those two elements together is what it's all about. And that's why this A-swing really addresses that issue. It really helps to synchronize the swing. So in a very short space of time, what we found that people have, we've got players who literally, good players, even tour level players who've said, we've got a couple of senior tour players who are using it now. And they say, the great thing about this is that, it just takes me a few balls and I'm right back into the feel of things. I don't have to go out and hit balls, and I don't have to think about what I did last week. It's very, very interesting, and it's very exciting because, to me, as I say, when just seeing people when they start to hit good shots and a smile that comes over their face, I mean, that's reward enough for me.
I can absolutely imagine. And just in that idea, and just to quell some people's fears, with the 7-minute exercises and those types of things, how long would you generally say it would take for someone who's just, picking up the A-swing to be able to start to feel comfortable? Because I know that's another thing that some people are challenged with. They'll go and see a pro, they'll get something fixed in their game, and then when they head out to the course, they're thinking of so many different things. They end up playing worse, and they're a little bit frustrated. What's your feeling there, and what's the best way for them to approach that?
Well, we've seen pretty immediate results, and essentially, most people go wrong right at the start, which includes their grip and their posture. If they can get those two areas right, which once you've got it, you got it. You don't have to think about it anymore because that's all, that's part of the foundation. You don't have to worry about foundation. You're putting the roof on, and so you get that right. And the whole key for this A-swing is the start. If you get the start right, it's almost as if everything else is a chain reaction. So what we found, really, for the most part, people have seen some immediate results. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The thing is with this A-swing, and as I say to people, look, there is a model, and I liken it sort of tongue-in-cheek to order. Having sort of been brought up in England, I really love Indian food. So curry is one of my favorite foods. And you can get various degrees of curry from a standpoint of, you get the ultra hot, which is called the Vindaloo version, and you can get hot, you can get medium, you can get mild, and so on. And so even if you have the mild version, you don't have to have the extreme Vindaloo version. Even if you have the mild version, you're going to see some improvement because it's all about making the swing more efficient, cutting out some of the wasted motion. And in a sense, although this is focusing mainly on the backswing, but honestly, Frank, it's all about actually making your downswing easier because my feeling is, look, I would say that 80% of instruction is based around the backswing, which seems ludicrous when you think about it. If you think about other sports, tennis or baseball or hockey, everything's about sort of coming forward towards the target, impact, etc. Now, in golf, we're so tied into sort of making a backswing because the backswing is so out of sort that we never really sort of get into downswing. The downswing is almost an afterthought. And so, this is the whole key, is to simplify the backswing so it makes the downswing that much easier to repeat. And, so I would say for most people, hey, they read through the book, they read little bits, they work on little bits of it. And before you know it, I tell you, it really starts to fall into place. And it is one of those books. There's 200 illustrations, there's color illustrations in the book. It's really been put together really, really well. Macmillan Publishing have done a wonderful job. And there's artist impressions, about 200 illustrations, and it really goes through it. And there's frequently answered questions, there's little bullet points at the end. So they're like reminders, and I think people are going to get a lot out of it. I really do. And it is one of those books that, we all know that learning from a book is not maybe the easiest thing to do, but I tell you, you just get little chunks of it, and so especially if you get the start right, I mean, it makes just an unbelievable difference to the way that you hit the ball.
Yeah, thumbing through it myself, I couldn't agree with you more. And as you said earlier about this possibly being a little bit controversial, on the other side, another thing that it makes me think of is there's also a lot of common sense to it too. And if you stop and really ponder it, that what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. So if, you can also do it on a conceptual level, but also, as you said, the natural feel. So I've got to think that there's going to be a great reception in that regard. Okay, so with that said, what is the best way for our listeners to get a hold of the book?
Well, it's tomorrow. It's out in the bookstores and Barnes and Noble, but you can get on Amazon, or you could go to leadbetteraswing.com, and you'll see a lot of the testimonials on there. We're going to be giving updated tips how to use it well. We're actually, Frank, probably going to get into certifying instructors on how to teach this. And I'll tell you one thing for sure. It's not only is it easy to learn, and from my perspective and my teacher's perspective at all our academies around the world, it's very easy to teach. But the great thing about it is it's easy to teach teachers to teach. Now think about that. If you can get a teacher to teach this in a short space of time and they can analyze a swing very quickly, see where the swing is out of sync, work on these couple of things, within a short space of time, somebody's going to get the message, and they're going to start hitting the ball better in a much shorter space of time. And that's the goal. Let's get people playing better, hitting it better, enjoying it more, without having to go through all the pain of taking 20 lessons. Say, well, you're going to get worse before you get better, and all this sort of stuff, which to me is crazy. I mean, right. Literally, you should be able to see some benefits. Look, we're not saying you're going to be perfect, but you should see some results. You should see some benefits almost straight away.
And that's one area where we can, and pros working with students can leverage technology a little bit too. There's so many ways now, even with our phone, we can record our swing. So when you are there with the pro, and you do manage to perform the swing right, you have a visual that you can go back to, and then get to that point again very quickly.
Well, the interesting thing is, I tell you, not that we planned this, but the beginner that we had in our test group, he was out in Palm Springs a few weeks ago. Just a very short story, which sort of it sort of explains how simple this approach is, this ace swing. But he was out there. He was demonstrating at a piece of equipment which, if you stand on it, actually helps people who have arthritis and bad knees and so on and so forth. So he's out there at the tennis tournament, Indian Wells, and a lady comes up to him and said, "Oh, hey, I know David very well, and he had my ace swing next to him because I helped promote this piece of equipment." And so he had a little promotional brochure there. And she said, "Well, tell me about this ace swing. What is it all about?" So here's this guy. He's been playing for 6 months, and he's got a really pretty good-looking swing for somebody who's played 6 months. This guy's never sliced in his life because I didn't let him hit balls for the first couple of months. And so he developed the technique, and he's even after 3 months, he's able to hit nice, solid draws. So anyway, so here he is, this and he's talking to this lady, and she goes away and sort of comes back the next day and says, I tried that, and it really feels good. It really feels good. Anyway, lo and behold, this lady was Sandra Palmer, the former U.S. Open champion, won about 25 events on the LPGA tour. So here we have this beginner, he's telling this sort of style player, about the ace swing. And so it's fun because you can actually help you can help your mates and your buddies, and you might even help your wife. I mean, I helped my wife, and my wife Kelly played the tour, and she never listens to me. So it's like
yeah. So that's great. I mean, you're approaching all spectrum with it, and that's great. Well, David, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, spending a little time. I know you're a busy man with the book coming out tomorrow, and I want to thank you again. I'm looking forward to trying it out myself. I know there's a ton of great resources, as you said, not only with the book coming out, but even online. With your website, I've seen you even have a couple of video demonstrations on YouTube. So a lot of ways that people can gain some access to this, and I'm
Absolutely.
Looking forward to trying it myself.
Well, thank you, Frank. I just hope people like this ace swing. It's a catchy word, and as we say, hey, you want to play your A game and try the ace swing.
There you go. All right. Well, David, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Take care. Okay, so Mike, that was really great. A lot of great information from David. I really enjoyed talking to him. I mean, I'm gonna I can't wait to get a copy of the book in my hands. We got a bunch of them, like I said, that they're giving us to give away. And I think I'm just going to blow right through that thing because I'm excited to learn whatever I can from it.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, Frank. I'm not a book guy. I'm not a read up and teach myself. I'm a go to the course and do it myself, do it 100 times, maybe watch a video as far as I'll go. But I'm very excited to get my hands on this book, just from listening to David. And I think I need to take my game to the next level and try some new things. And I'm going to start with the tips that he puts in this book. So I think it was a really cool interview. I'm glad we had him on the show.
Absolutely. And you know what I really like there too? That 7-minute drill program that he's got, because we talk all the time about how not being pros ourselves, it's hard sometimes to get out there and practice as much as some of these other guys get to do. And it can be discouraging that you're not practicing that much. But here's a situation where, and again, it comes back to what we've said so many times, focused practice, practice with a purpose and you're going to get better. And here he is giving you a timed focused practice that you can do. And you can, you really use that to see some dramatic results. Like he talked about in the interview, how quickly some people were improving. So I'm really looking forward to taking a look at that. Now, we want to talk real quick how you can win one. Very simple. In the show notes, which you can get to that by going to golficity.com/episode 69, or just go to Golficity. You'll see under podcast, you'll see the episode 69 there. What you're going to do is leave us a comment at the bottom. You can see where you can leave comments on the show notes. Let us know why you think this method that David is describing is going to be good for your game. So we'll search through, look for some of the more compelling answers, and then we'll get in touch with you to send you out a free copy of the book. We've got a handful of them coming our way from the publisher that we've got to give away. We appreciate that. Again, David, generous enough to donate a bunch of his books. So we want to thank him for that. And that's how you can get a chance to win one. So go ahead, jump on there, golficity.com/episode 69. Like I said, leave your comments. Let us know why you think you'll be able to benefit from this methodology, at least from what you've heard here, and we'll get in touch with you to send you a book. Mike, do you have anything else?
No, I'm going to see if I can get him back on the phone and see if he wants to be my fourth in that scramble tomorrow, because I really want to win. So, but I know that'll never happen. But no, I got nothing else, Frank. I'm good.
Yeah, I would say David's a pretty busy man right now.
Yeah, I would think so.
All right, so that's everything we have. Want to thank everybody again for listening. If you like what you hear, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. Also, happy to announce that in the last week we've just been added to a Spreaker.com, which I know a lot of people listen to the podcast there. We've had a lot of people request that we put the show on there, so we've worked with them, and we've got the show on Spreaker as well. So just another place that you can listen to the podcast. Remember, sign up for the free newsletter at golficity.com. There you can get notifications every time a new podcast episode comes out, and we have the links to everything from iTunes to Stitcher, Spreaker, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to hear us. So that's a great way to stay up to date and make sure that you don't miss an episode. Okay, so that's everything we have. Again, you can find out all the notes. You can find out, I'll have the links to everything that David talked about, to his new book, everything at golficity.com/episode 69. And we'll be back again next week with some more instruction. We'll see you then.